Welcome back to the channel, Kings and Queens. It's your girl, Wisdom's daughter. Thank you guys so much for being on. Oh my God, listen, this Diddy case is something else. It is only day 2, and this trial is on fire. Like, if I was Diddy's defense team, I think I would low key be panicking right about now because I don't know if they're going to win this one. But we are going to get into everything. We're going to talk about what happened, just a quick recap on day 1, everything that you missed. And yes, Diddy's ex, Cassie Ventura, took the stand today. Okay, we heard yesterday from 2 witnesses, and as I said yesterday, the prosecution came out the gate swinging, and they got some really strong witnesses. So we're going to get into it, y'all. Go ahead and come on into the room, because when I tell you we're going to cover this bad boy the last 2 days from A to Z, I have it all. What was who said what, when, who was wearing what. Why was Diddy in the courtroom with the Bible? Why? Your boy is sitting at the table with his glasses on, reading the Bible as the jury is coming in. Really, Diddy? Now you want to read the Bible? Like, he's over here playing games. Diddy's over here trying to, look old and innocent with his white hair. Now, in all fairness, he's not allowed Beijing or any other kind of hair dye while he's in jail. But from what we're seeing, his hair is completely white. He did change his clothes today. I don't know what color vest he had on today. Yesterday was some light gray color. Today, who knows what color, light gray. He had on gray. That we can agree upon, with a white shirt. But yeah, Diddy was acting up in the courtroom today. There's a couple things that happened even after the court reporters left. So we're going to get into all of that as well, because even while Diddy is in court on trial for all these crimes, and I'm going to break down each and every one of the 5 charges and which victims it's tied to in just a minute. But Diddy's over here still thinking that he's running things. Okay, so I don't want to spill that tea just yet, but he did something very inappropriate. He did two things very inappropriate today that really might hurt his case later. And if I was walking into the courtroom, walking past Diddy with the Bible on the table, I would have busted out laughing. Like, Diddy, really? Okay, the closest thing Diddy comes to Jesus is TD Jakes. Pastor TD Jakes is the closest thing Diddy comes to any kind of faith. Got plenty of pictures for you guys, pictures of the family, pictures of we've got pictures of Cassie's husband. I'm going to try to bring that up as well. But as I said, if you guys are just joining the live, make sure you hit the like button. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and wait 1 minute so that you can participate in the live chat. But we are going over everything. What you missed yesterday, I did a quick live on last night. I did not give you all of the details. There were some things that I did not mention, but I will mention those tonight. And then I'm going to give you a play-by-play of what went on in the courtroom, as well as some other tea. So make sure you guys got some water, you got some snacks. I don't want you guys to get thirsty and have to run out the room. Get set and buckle up, because we're about to jump into this thing. So let's see, where are we going to start? Why don't we start with greeting those who were first in the room? Because, I always appreciate y'all who literally, some of y'all just here waiting for me to come on. So appreciate that. I am Mrs. BB was first in the building, saying, hey, WD and everyone, please spill all the tea. Okay, it's about to be spilled. With a T. Listen to me, 301 is in the building. Tanya Lee is here. I've got Deborah Person. Galatians 6:7 say, hey sis, I will be in and out because I am a DV abuse victim. Queen, I completely understand. I don't know how graphic I'm gonna go into this live, because YouTube is very they're very specific with their guidelines, and if we go too deep with some of the language, that's going to cause a problem. And I want to make sure that there's no issues, nothing that has to be cut out of this live. So no worries if at any point it becomes too much. But I can tell you what I'm going to be covering. I think you'll be okay. Kia Elder is in the building, says, hello, WD and everyone's clutching my pearls. Clutching my pearls. Diddy was over here clutching that Bible, okay? Had his glasses on and everything, like he was reading. I think he was reading the book of Job. He was reading the book of Job like Nesto. Kia says WD has boots on the ground, something like that, Kia. I can't give it up all. I can't give it all. You know, I never give away my sources, right? 313 Best Side is in the building. So, all right, y'all, let's go. So, let me go ahead and start. Let me do this. Let me start with what the specifics of what Diddy is charged with. All right. Then we'll do the recap of yesterday, and it's going to be a really, really quick recap of one or two highlights. And then I want to go through what happened today because Diddy was doing the most in the courtroom today, like for real, for real. It wasn't just the corny thumbs up, you know. It was other inappropriate stuff like what's wrong with you? Okay, so here we go. So Diddy is right now his case is for a 5-count federal indictment. Okay, they're accusing him of creating a criminal enterprise that they're calling the quote unquote Combs enterprise to essay women and to commit other acts of violence against them over more than a decade. So we're talking about two decades, right? So this is what he is being accused of. So far, the government has accused him of coercing 4 women into what they are saying was non-consensual activity. Okay. So the court papers have basically referred to the women only as victims 1, 2, 3, and 4. We've already identified victim 1 is Cassie. Victim 2 is Jane Doe. Victim 3 we believe to be Gina. And then there's a 4th victim, right? So count number 1 is for racketeering conspiracy. This count is accusing Diddy of conspiring to engage in S trafficking, forced labor, enticement to engage in, I'm going to say without the P, prostitution, kidnapping, and other offenses. This count also says that he used his business empire to enrich himself and associates, and particularly those people who were loyal to him, you know, and those who were willing to help him cover up his crimes. That count, the maximum sentence is life in prison. Okay, that's the maximum sentence. Count number 2 is S trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. This count concerns Cassie Ventura. So Diddy was trying to get the judge to suppress the video. He didn't want the video of him beating up Cassie in the hotel to be shown. Okay, but the judge has decided to allow all evidence. And if you guys weren't aware, the judge is going to allow the jury to see all the text messages that went back and forth between Diddy and Cassie. So Diddy's goose might be cooked, and I'm just getting started. I'm just getting started. Hold on one second. Let me say thank you to Tonya Lee. I appreciate the super chat. She says, thank you, Queen. Oh, you are very, very welcome. And thank you. And may your gift return back to you tenfold. I appreciate that. So that's count number 2. Now, the issue with this one also is that he attempted to pay staff at that hotel for the footage, not realizing that somebody, okay, this is alleged, may have slipped a copy to Cassie. I'm just saying it was possible that somebody may have slipped her a copy, but he thought he had all the copies, all right? The maximum sentence for count number 2 is life in prison and a mandatory minimum sentence of 15 years. So if he only got convicted on count number 2, he's doing 15 years. All right, count number 3 is transportation of Cassie Ventura and commercial escorts, basically, with the intent to engage in prostitution. I'm not going to pronounce the P. That has a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison. And then there's counts 4 and 5, which accuse Diddy of similar crimes involving victim number 2, who has not been publicly identified. And she's also expected to testify under a pseudonym. So I'm not really sure how that's going to work. Is she going to have on glasses, cover her face? Is she going to be in the... We don't know how victim number 2 is going to testify, but she's testifying under a pseudonym. All right. So out the gate, Diddy, if he gets convicted of at least just that one count number 2, he would get an automatic 15 years. If he gets convicted of all these crimes, he's never getting out. You might as well just say he's never getting out. So it's highly unlikely that he's going to walk away with a not guilty verdict on all of these counts. I highly, highly, highly doubt that. They're going to get him on something. That's what I think. All right. So that being said, let me talk about just really quick what happened yesterday. So yesterday we heard from one of the witnesses. That was the security guard. I'm trying to find his name. I don't have all of my notes in front of me, so if I'm all over the place a little bit, just forgive me, because y'all know I usually have all of my stuff like right in order. But anyway, so he Israel Flores is his name. Okay. So he testified yesterday on a couple things. He testified that he did receive a call that there was a woman in distress on the 6th floor. We know that to be Cassie. He arrived to the area. This is his testimony yesterday, and that he saw Diddy in a bathrobe and in some colored socks. Okay. I don't think we will ever get that image out of our head of Diddy running down the hallway in nothing more than a white towel and some black socks. And he says Cassie was on the floor and she was covering her face. He also said that he testified that Diddy was in like a devilish state and that Cassie looked scared. Okay. During the incident, he recalled noticing a flower vase in the hallway that was destroyed. Of course, we saw in the video Diddy threw it. He threw the vase at Cassie. Okay. Because apparently dragging her down the hall wasn't enough. Now, when he witnessed Diddy and Cassie fighting, he tried to escort them back to their rooms, and Cassie was like, I just want to leave. And while she was trying to leave and walk away, Israel Flores testified that Diddy told her, "You're not going to leave. You're not leaving." Okay. He pulled the Wolf of Wall Street. You're not effing leaving. Okay. Now, at one point, Flores alleges that he was bribed not to tell anybody about the events after Diddy held a stash of money in front of his hand. Like, you know how they pull out the bankroll, like, now, again, if you guys missed the other live that I did, this security guard is now an LAPD officer. He has been since 2018, but he was like an assistant security manager or something like that. And he told him, I don't want your money. Just go back to your room and stay in your room. And he alleges that Cassie just said, I just want to leave. And she had a purple eye, like her, she had visible bruises. All right. So that was how it started out yesterday. Just some details about how it started out yesterday. Now, stark contrast to what we've seen in court today with Diddy with his Bible, trying to look all Christian-fied. He's trying to look sanctified is what he's trying to look. Flores also testified that Diddy was acting very cordial and cooperative during the incident. So initially, I guess when he caught them, he said that he was in a devilish state, but then he composed himself. And this is important because Diddy was planning to claim that he did not have he had diminished mental capacity when he was committing some of these crimes, that he wasn't in his right mind. Well, he was in his right mind enough to be cordial and to wave money in front of the guy to say, yeah, and the defense, it was Tenny Garagos, however you pronounce her name anyway. But Diddy's legal team is trying to say that it wasn't so much of a bribe as much as it was to help pay for the damage. Yeah. I don't know who on the jury is going to believe that, but that's how it started. They showed the video. This security guard is, with his testimony, he is confirming what we all saw in the video. All right. Then who enters the courtroom? And that is, am I saying his name right? His first name is Daniel. Okay, I got to get his last name. Hold on, because like I said, my notes are all over the place, so y'all forgive me. But anyway, this is the escort, okay, the S worker, right? He comes on the stand and he starts telling everything, okay? There's some stuff that is just too nasty for me to repeat. I can't stomach it, and I'm already not feeling that great. So if my energy is off, that's why I'm not feeling the best. But I'm gonna hold it together to get through this live because this is This is a lot, and it is we got to get through this. So anyway, but the escort, I don't want to say escort, I'll just say escort. So the escort comes on the stand and he's telling it all. He starts talking about the baby oil. Okay, at one point Diddy was complaining that there wasn't enough baby oil, and he proceeds to testify that he was told, ordered by Diddy to have relations with Cassie while Diddy watched and pleasured himself. And he was told to urinate in Cassie's mouth and give her a golden shower. That in and of itself was enough. Okay, that would have been enough for me. But you know who it was enough for? It was enough for Diddy's children, okay? Because they were in the court, and it was said around 10:03 a.m. earlier today that his daughters Chance, Delilah, and Jesse Combs left the courtroom on Monday as Daniel Phillip, that's his name. As the escort, Daniel Phillip was given testimony about his interactions with Diddy and Cassie. It was too much for the kids. Okay, the kids were like, "I can't do this. I don't want to hear this." And speaking of the kids, let me just go over with you all of Diddy's kids and who is who. All right, and let me just check on your comments in a second. Yeah, I know there are a few of you that are DV victims. So this is hard. This is really, really hard. But I'm so proud of Cassie. This woman is 8 months pregnant. Okay, let me see if I have a picture. She's 8 months pregnant, and she is a G. That's what we call a G. Like, she is not, she is taking this so well. This was something that she wanted to do. She wanted to tell her story, and she's got a strong support system in the form of her husband, Alex Fine, who is very fine. So and I'm gonna get to, there was an incident with him, so I'm gonna get to him in just a minute about what happened with that, because Diddy is a hot ass mess. Okay. And I'm just shocked. But anyway, let me get back to the kids, and I'll get to your comments. So Diddy has 7 children. Okay. His oldest son, Justin, he shares with his ex-girlfriend, Misa Hilton. Okay. Then he has his son, Christian, with Kim Porter. Now, he adopted her son, Quincy, who Kim Porter had with Albie Shore. Okay. Then they also had a set of twins, Delilah and Jesse. Let me see if I can, while I'm reading this, if I can get them. I've got some pictures of them. Hang on a second. So here are just some pictures of the kids coming out of the van. I believe those are the twins. And I'll get some more pictures up because I have. Look at Diddy's mama. She over here looking like a black Dolly Parton. I can't. Let's see. The rendering, I don't know who the court artist is, but wow. All right. Anyway, let me not get off track. So I'll just put the picture of the kids up there. I'll just leave that up there. I think that was probably like one of the best pictures. Okay. So getting back to he has a lot of, I didn't realize he has so many kids. I mean, I knew, but I just like looking at it, it's like, wow. All right, so you got the twins, Delilah and Jesse. All right. Then Diddy and Sarah Chapman have a daughter named Chance. And then the youngest is his daughter Love, who's 2 years old, that he shares with Dana Tran. Okay. So those are all his kids. And it was too much for them. So I believe this was yesterday. It was his mom, Janice Combs, along with 6 of the kids. So it was his eldest daughters, Chance, and the twins Jesse and Delilah, who are all 18, who enter the courthouse on Monday. So you see them holding hands, and then they're with their brother Christian, who's 27, and then also Justin, who's 31, and then Quincy, who is 33. I don't know if all the kids were in court today, but anyway, um, here is a court rendering of the family. Okay, it's not really much to look at, but that is what it is. Okay. All right. I have, you know what? I know I have a better picture of all of them, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. But anyway, but let's keep going. So if you guys are just coming in the room, welcome. Again, you have to subscribe to the channel and just wait 1 minute, and then you can participate in the live chat if you're not already subscribed. So that's what happened with the kids. So the escort is talking about, you know, all the nasty things, and I'll get into some other details, you know, on that. Now, he finished up his testimony today, and then of course Cassie took the stand, and she was all too ready to take the stand. Let me see if I can find there's a picture that I was looking for. Start taking some stuff down that I don't need right now. So we weren't sure if Cassie was in fact going to testify. One of the things that she did talk about was the fact that Diddy introduced her to something called Blue Dolphin Ecstasy. That was one of the things that she talked about. She said it was the first time she ever intentionally took ecstasy, referring to an earlier incident where it was apparently put in her Gatorade. Okay. And she talks about, I'm going to get into details of it, but for right now, I'll just give you a quick overview. She talked about her relationship early on with Diddy. She talked about him taking her on a trip to Miami a few months after her 21st birthday. And that was the first time that she had relations, that first time she had slept with Diddy, saying that I had become one of his girlfriends after that trip. Now, that statement right there just threw me all the way off. I had become one of his girlfriends. I had become one of his girlfriends, is literally what she said. Yeah, I had become one of his girlfriends. So she knew that he had other situations going on. She also talked about, and again, this is just, we'll get into the details a little bit, and I'll give it to you kind of in order, but just want to give you some other high level stuff really quickly. So she said that everything was fine initially. And this is interesting because this is exactly what Gina Hoon said. Although some people still don't believe her testimony, but this is what she said. First few months, everything was fine. But Diddy began getting more and more manipulative, is what she said. She described what happened with him as psychological abuse, claiming that he took control of how she looked, who she spoke to, you know, what she dressed, how she dressed. And she also described her music career becoming or feeling like busy work. So a lot of the songs that she produced or recorded in the studio never actually came out. She also said that she recorded hundreds, y'all, hundreds of songs that were never released, and she wasn't paid for. Basically, she said the freak offs became her job, or a job is actually what she said. There was no space to do anything else. So Diddy groomed her. She was 18 when she met Diddy. I think she's 38 now. Diddy groomed her under the guise of promising her that he was going to help with her career, and ended up turning her into his freak off queen. She says that she eventually moved to Los Angeles to be with Diddy, although she never wanted to leave New York. I wasn't ready to be out of New York because I was in love. I wanted to be near him. Sounds like Gina Hoon, who said, I really didn't want to give up my baby, not the first time or the second time, but because I loved Diddy and I thought he loved me, I aborted my babies. Because I was in love and I wanted to be near him. before going any further into her testimony, of course, they took a break. So they started out. This was yesterday. They started out with her relationship, and I'm mentioning this just to give you a background, some more details. Now, some of what she said is almost linear to what Gina Hoon talked about. So getting back to this escort, he was basically hired to sleep with Cassie while Diddy watched. Okay, saying that he was paid anywhere from like 700 to 6,000 for each time. Now he says something very interesting while he's on the stand about Cassie. I'm gonna get to that a little bit later. Okay. What I will tell you about him though is that when I say him, I'm talking about Daniel Phillips, the escort. The defense, what is it, Xavier Donaldson. So that is Diddy has two. He has two African American lawyers. He's got a man and a woman. I don't know if it's two black men, but anyway, but this lawyer is African American. He was grilling the holy hell out of Daniel Phillip, and he held his own. Okay, he held his own. What happened in the courtroom today is a story of voyeurism. Cassie being forced into, and this escort being forced into a situation of voyeurism, where this escort was paid and Cassie was forced to act out Diddy's fantasies. It was disgusting. Diddy sometimes recorded the sessions. Yeah. It was a lot. I'm not even surprised that his kids walked out of the courtroom, because I don't know if I could have sat there the entire time either. This guy also said that Diddy took a picture of his driver's license once, and he kind of got a little bit nervous about that. Like, why you taking my driver's license? Like, okay, so now I know where you live, type of situation. All right, so before I get into the details of the opening statements from the prosecution and the defense, all of that, I'm going to quickly pivot to a little bit of information about the lawyers. Got to understand the lawyers to understand their opening statements and their testimony and all that. So let me go ahead and do that. Let's talk about Diddy's defense team first. All right. And let me just check on everyone. We check on the comments and stuff. I'm going to put this down for a second. Here are just some other pictures of Diddy portrayed in court. Okay. I'm not going to show a picture of Cassie's husband just yet. Some of you know what he looks like, but I'll share that in a little bit. And let me just double check on a couple of other pictures that I'm waiting to upload. See if I got everything. So we'll do that. We're gonna talk about the lawyers' backgrounds, and then I will get into the specifics of what was said and what was done in court. I already told you guys that Diddy was up in court reading his Bible when the jury walked in. Okay. Let me see if I can show you this corny picture. Hold on a second. It's an artist rendition. Oh, okay. I see what's going on. Hang on one second, guys. It's telling me that I got way too many pictures up here and I need to delete some. Need to delete a couple of these pictures. So I think I'm going to delete this one. You don't need that one. Okay. See if that'll do it. So while I am doing that, let me just say this. I said it yesterday. My assessment, Diddy has a great team. I mean, they're doing the best that they can, but this situation is so messed up. And this is just the beginning. There's a lot more testimony that has to come forward. So here is Diddy, okay, looking real cheesy. Okay. Here is the spokesperson for his defense team. This is Holly Baird, okay, in case you guys hadn't seen her. All right. Let me Let's see. I'm trying to see a good. Make sure I got a couple of other pictures up here from the court. Oh, I'll tell you this. There was a lot of reaction in the courtroom today, and security had to like shush some people up. They said there are so many content creators. As a matter of fact, it was reported this afternoon that when court adjourned, there were people already out there lining up for tomorrow morning. Okay? Like people are literally sleeping out there from the time that court adjourns, is what I'm saying to you. All right, so here's the opening statements by the defense. Okay. So she says Sean Combs is a complicated man, but this is not a complicated case. This case is about love, jealousy, infidelity, and money. This case is about voluntary adult choices made by capable adults and consensual relationships. This case is about those real life relationships. I guess she's referring to the video of Cassie being dragged and beaten, punched. This case is about real life relationships, and the government is trying to turn those relationships into a racketeering case, a prostitution case, and an trafficking case. It will not work. Let's start with the basics. The most important things in this courtroom are you and him. At a time when everything in the government can feel so uncertain, one thing has remained the same in our justice system, and that is standing between all of us and a criminal conviction, a jury, or our peers. That is you. You will hear the evidence. You will get to the truth. You will see the witnesses and evaluate them one by one. Again, this is the defense's opening statements. And finally, the story about this case can finally come out. Why do I say that? I say that because this case is not about what you've heard on the news, read in the news, or have seen on social media for the past year and a half. This case is not about what civil attorneys not about civil attorneys looking for a payday, trying to make my client out. I'm sorry, let me go back. This case is not about what civil attorneys looking for a payday are trying to make my client out to be. There has been a tremendous amount of noise around this case for the past year, and it is time to cancel that noise and hear and see the evidence that will be presented in this courtroom, and it will be crystal clear. Then she starts talking about the story of Sean Diddy Combs. Part 2 coming up. Let me just check on your comments and see what I missed. I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. All right. Yes, it's going to be a few oh my gosh moments. Yes, Cassie's husband he's fine. Anyone being Diddy's attorneys, I question them as a person. How can you look at your children or your daughter then represent that monster? But somebody has to represent the monsters, Lily. That's how it go. And my tie said, how could a person be an SA victim and defend him was my question. Absolutely. All right, let's keep going. So here I am. This is Tenny. I keep saying Garagos, but someone said it's pronounced Garagos, but y'all know who I'm talking about. This is Tenny's opening statement. The story of Sean Combs is a fascinating one, but it is a human one. We are going to tell you his story over the next 2 months in this courtroom, and you will learn that he is a man who grew up here in New York City, in Harlem, who came from little but built groundbreaking lawful businesses. You will hear that he is a wealthy individual, but know that the evidence will show that nobody gave him this money. He worked for it, and no one gave him a dime. It will show that he made every single dollar, recreated a culture, and produced music that I believe you will hear will change the generation. And I believe that the evidence is going to show you that this ingenuity is what drew people to Mr. Combs. Witnesses will share with you that Mr. Combs is a fascinating person and that people are drawn to him. Yes, he is famous. Yes, he is wealthy. And that's certainly part of it. But he was charismatic and magnetic and a larger than life figure. If you had any interest in climbing the social ladder at the time and being involved in the music industry, the apparel industry, spirits industry, attending his legendary parties, you wanted to be around Sean Combs. Do y'all see what the defense is doing there? You also wanted to be around him because of the benefits that came along with being with him. As you listen to the evidence in this case, try to remember why that matters. Try to remember why people stayed around him and why it matters. I expect it will matter to you as the jury because he gave people opportunities and he gave people chances to work at his companies. Well, except this is me ad-libbing, except for Cassie, because her hundreds of songs never got produced. They never albums never came out. She never got paid. But anyway, getting back, sorry, I got out of character. I expect it will matter to you as the jury because he gave people opportunities and he gave people chances to work at his companies. They believed he had a vision that few others had. And for the most part, I believe the evidence will show you that they loved him. I don't think that the witnesses will tell you they always liked what he did or how he behaved, but the real-time text messages that you will review in this case show that the people really loved him. And they believed that by being with Sean Combs, they were part of something special. So by now you've heard the government say a lot of things about my client. It's time for me to introduce you to him. Now, meanwhile, all the while, Diddy's sitting at the table with his glasses on reading the Bible. Okay? I'm sorry. I got out of character again. All right. So by now, you've heard the government say a lot of things about my client. It's time for me to introduce you to him. His name is Sean Combs. You may have heard him by Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Puffy Diddy, but standing in this courtroom at 55 years old, in the same place he was born and raised, he's going by the same name he was born with, Sean Combs. My name is Tenny Garagos, and I am one of the attorneys honored to represent him. The government started their opening statement by telling you that this is about a 20-year racketeering influence corrupt organization, act enterprise, that he committed with his apparent trusted inner circle. The only people in this courtroom who would tell you that they participated in, knew about, or came to an agreement to participate in a racketeering enterprise are the prosecutors. No one witness will get into this courtroom and will take that witness stand and tell you that they were part of any racketeering, influence, corrupt organization, act, enterprise. Well, duh. Who's going to get on the stand and incriminate themselves? And the reason is there simply was not one. You heard the government. You heard what the government tried to say the enterprise is, that he used his lawful businesses to feed his every desire, including sexual ones. This case is about Sean Combs' private, personal sex life, which has nothing to do with his lawful businesses. The government has no place here in this man's private bedrooms. The government can say over and over again that this is not about his private sex life, but the evidence will show you that it is. The people will come into this courtroom and testify. The people who will come into this courtroom and testify are the people who would know about a racketeering enterprise. And those people will all say they knew nothing about any enterprise. That is because these hardworking individuals were either doing their jobs as personal assistants or as top executives running his successful businesses. These individuals educated at places from Harvard to Howard University. Ooh, she was really laying it on thick. Howard to Harvard University. The prosecution will bring in those same employees and others into this courtroom and have them testify that Sean Combs has a temper. And when he drank or when he did the wrong drugs, he would get violent. My client is not proud of that, but it is one of the many things we are going to own and fully admit right up front at this trial. Sean Combs has a bad temper. He sometimes gets so angry or so jealous that he's out of control. You will see evidence and you will hear some testimony that does not portray my client in a good light. You will hear some text messages, some voice notes, and some witness testimony that may make you think, I don't think this guy is a great guy. I don't like how he just lied to his girlfriends. I don't like the things he just said in that text message. I want to tell you now, there may be one point, there may be multiple points at this trial where you think, I think he's a jerk and I think he is kind of mean. But he is not charged with being mean. He is not charged with being a jerk. He's charged with running a racketeering enterprise. And though there was violence that you're going to hear about, you already have. That violence is not part of any RICO. That violence is not connected to S trafficking, and that violence is not prostitution. There was a name in criminal law for the violence that we will hear about, and we will see this at trial. It's called domestic violence. It's called assault. Domestic violence is a very serious matter. I want to say that now. It is a bad, illegal problem, and it is something that the law addresses. We take full responsibility that there was domestic violence in this case. Domestic violence is not S trafficking. I want to say it again. Domestic violence is not S trafficking. He has been charged with had he been charged with domestic violence, had he been charged with assault, we would not be here right now. We would not be sitting through an 8-week trial. However, he's been charged with different crimes: as trafficking, prostitution, racketeering. These are federal crimes with their different statutes. They charge different elements, and he is simply not guilty of those crimes. One of the central themes of my statements to you will be personal accountability and personal responsibility. As the trial goes on, we will see that with each witness. We're going to take that on ourselves. We will not shy away from the things Mr. Combs did, but we will not deny his personal responsibility or own the things he did not do. We're telling you right now that he is physical, that he is a drug user, and I'm telling you that he had a bit of a different ex-life. So, for example, you may not have heard any evidence in this case, but the prosecutors already told you about the lubricant, and you may know of his love of baby oil. Is that a federal crime? No. You will hear that he's got IVs after ingesting drugs. Is that a federal crime? No. He will be responsible. He will be accountable for the things that he did, but we will fight for his freedom throughout the next 8 weeks for what he did not do. And he cannot be the only person in this case who accepts personal responsibility and accountability for his actions. The alleged victims who will testify in this case are capable, strong adult women. They were all getting something each of them wanted from him and from being in a romantic relationship with him. And these adult, capable, strong women will have to take on the same level of personal responsibility for their lives that he is going to take on for his. When any person in life makes an adult choice, that is a free choice. A free choice has pros. It has cons. You may think there are better choices. You may think there are worse choices, but that does not eliminate the personal responsibility behind those choices. And each of the women you will hear from, they all had the personal responsibility and the freedom to make the choices that they made. You will hear from these women. You will see these women. You will meet them. They will sit in that witness chair a few feet away, and you will evaluate them for yourselves. You will see that they are capable. You will see that they are strong, and you will see that they made free choices every single day for years. As you are listening to the evidence and you listen to them testify, I want you to ask yourselves, what are all the ways that this individual had the ability to make that choice? Ask yourselves, what are they getting from being with Sean Combs? You see what they're doing there? Are y'all tracking with the defense? They are not with him because they are stuck or because they are without a choice. The government will try to that Sean Combs is the only one getting something from each of the alleged victims who testify in this case. But with each of these individuals, ask yourselves, what is this person getting? They are with him or they are working for him because they are getting something they want from him, from being with him. Now, with each person, that something may be different, and it usually is. But with each person, they all are getting something. So as you listen to the evidence, watch closely to the role that jealousy plays in this case. We have talked to you, both of us, already about jealousy, how it is pervasive and present in every single relationship. But I also want to let you know it drives a lot of choices that the alleged victims make here. Combs is one of those men that I'll submit to you, we all know. The evidence is going to show that he is somebody who never married, who he needed to always have a woman around him. He is a many woman man. He has 7 children by 4 different women. And he is the kind of guy who is always in relationships. In fact, he was always in multiple relationships. But critically, he was not always honest about that fact. And you will find that even when even when women knew he was in multiple relationships, this would drive a primal jealousy in people. It would drive a lot of the choices you are going to see in this case. You are going to see that Sean Combs is extremely jealous. You might think it's hypocritical. You might not like it, but you're going to see that he is also extremely jealous. So as you're listening to the evidence and you're evaluating the testimony, ask yourself, what is causing that fight? And the answer is, without exception, jealousy or drugs. The hitting, the things we're going to take responsibility for, it is typically because of jealousy or drug use. The role of jealousy here is critical and it is pervasive. Oh, so that's their defense now. So first is a DV victim. Now the defense is jealousy made me do it. Okay. The evidence will show you that over the course of the 20 years we will examine in this courtroom, we'll see the same women over and over. They remained in a multi-year relationship with him. And I believe that you'll pretty much know about every relationship he's had over the past 20 years. Again, that's whether this is an employee or a girlfriend. You will pretty much know about every girlfriend he has had. You will see that these women are strong, capable, and that they were in love with him. You will see that breaches of trust, infidelity, and jealousy are what drove the domestic violence you will hear about. You will see that alcohol and drugs played a major role in his temper. The evidence is going to show you a very flawed individual, but it will not show you a racketeer, an S-trafficker, or somebody transporting for prostitution. So, as we've said, you're going to hear from 2 women, Cassie and Jane Doe. These women fought to be in a relationship, fought to do what they wanted to do in consensual adult relationships. She will sit in this witness box and she will tell you about her 11-year relationship with Sean Combs. You heard that they met when she was an up-and-coming artist. What you didn't hear is that she had a boyfriend at the time, and he was in a very public relationship with the mother of 4 of his children named Kim Porter. After the 2 fell in love and started dating, she broke up with her producer boyfriend. But Combs, for his part, did not break up with Kim. He remained in a public relationship with her, and that is something that caused extreme jealousy with Cassie. He continued that relationship with Kim Porter until her tragic, untimely death from pneumonia in 2018. That is important because as you look at the evidence and as you evaluate Cassie and Combs' relationship, you will see that their fights, their cheating, their jealousy, it typically surrounded his cheating and it surrounded hers. This is something that plagued their relationship until the very last day. The evidence will show you that he was extremely jealous of Cassie's actual or perceived infidelities, and she was uncontrollably jealous of his. This led to a toxic relationship between 2 people that I expect the evidence will show deeply, deeply loved each other. Perhaps they did not always show love to one another the way you would with your partner, but they were in a relationship and she was not being trafficked. I expect Cassie to tell you about the jealousy of Kim Porter and another girlfriend that he started dating in 2014 named Gina. This jealousy is something that plagued their relationship even the day of the Intercontinental video in the elevator bank that much of you told us during jury selection that you saw. That day, unfortunately, jealousy was on full display, and in combination with the bad drugs that I expect Cassie to testify that Combs took, it led to domestic violence in the elevator bank. One thing I can say, she is trying her best. Some of this ain't flying with me, but she's trying. Okay, so first, what Combs did to Cassie on this videotape is indefensible. It was horrible. It's dehumanizing. It's violent. It's virtually every bad word you can think of. And while it is dehumanizing and violent and terrible, the second most important thing is that it is not evidence of trafficking. It is evidence of domestic violence. You will see that you will see that it is also evidence of the central theme of this case, which is jealousy. That's what this videotape shows you. Wow. As you watch it later today, and as you watch it throughout the week, I want you to look for two things. The first part is Cassie walking out of the hotel room, walking down the hallway. She is carrying two bags. And you see that she makes it to the elevators. And then Combs comes down wearing only a towel. He pulls Cassie by the hoodie and she falls to the floor. He kicks her in the backside. And then he stomps on her. He stomps her on the back of her leg. And he starts to drag her by her hoodie back to the hotel room. Yeah, he looks straight like a pimp. That's what pimps do. And you will see this. Then he comes, I'm sorry, let me go back. You will see him walk away momentarily with her bags, and you will see this. Then he comes back around and walks towards her, and she is kind of in the left part of the screen. When he comes towards her, he has nothing in his hand. And when he walks away from her, you will see an illuminated phone in his hand. He wanted this phone, and he got it. Please understand that this video is overwhelming evidence of domestic violence, but it is overwhelming evidence that this domestic violence is over a phone and not because of trafficking. What causes a fight about a phone? We can all use our life experiences to show us that. Phones keep secrets of infidelity. And you will hear that there was another fight even later that year, again, about a phone. I'm not justifying the assault, not by a long shot, but I'm putting it in the proper context, because you will see that as soon as he gets the phone, he sits down, he's visibly disgusted, he broke a vase, and he threw flowers and stayed away. I'm gonna pause here for a second. So I don't know if she knew that when she wrote this very long opening statement, I don't know if she knew that the security guard was going to testify that Cassie wanted to leave. And Diddy told her, you ain't going nowhere. You ain't leaving. And was dragging her back to the room. And she was telling the guard, I just want to leave. So I think that's cute that she's saying that it was about a cell phone and all of that. But no, Cassie wanted to leave. And she probably was trying to leave the relationship altogether. And Diddy was like, you ain't going no effing where. Anyway, that's just my two thoughts. Okay. So we all saw the video. So I'm not going to go. I'm going to skip over that part. Because this opening statement is hell. Okay, I expect the evidence this week. She says both of them are important to show that Combs assaulted Cassie. But you can't stop there because he's not charged with assault. It is because of trafficking, as the government is going to argue to you, or is it because of something else? I expect the evidence even just this week will show you that the fight was over a phone. These two stay together 2 more years after this incident. And to understand how and to understand why is to understand how this relationship ended. You will hear that even into 2018, these two were fighting to stay together. But the evidence will show you that in the summer of that year of 2018, she woke up to a gossip site that showed a photo of Combs and Gina, the same woman who he had started having an affair with in 2014, or relationship with, I should say, walking out of the Standard Hotel together. Cassie could not come back from it. She could not give him another chance. Instead, she made the choice, as she often did when he was caught up in public with Gina, to break up with him and date another man. For Cassie, she made a choice every single day for years, a choice to stay with him, a choice to fight for him, because for 11 years, that was the better choice. Oh my God. See, this is why I couldn't be a juror. See, y'all. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to sit in that courtroom. Mm-mm. I would have jumped over the table at this point. They would have had to escort me out. I would have been charged, held in contempt. The woman is doing her job, and I get it, and this is what she's supposed to do: try to discredit the witness. Remember, I told you guys for the past few days that was their number one strategy, to discredit witnesses, and this is what they're trying to do. It's gonna work. But anyway, that was her preferred choice, to be kicked in the back. Now I'm ad-libbing here, I'm just telling you. According to the opening statement, her preferred choice was to stay in a relationship, because that was the preferred choice, to be kicked in the back, to be stomped on. You know how painful it is to have somebody stomp, not step accidentally, but stomp on your leg? To be punched in the face, to be dragged by your hair, slammed up against the wall, forced to drink at Escort's urine, okay, forced to have sex with somebody that you don't know while your partner's watching and videotaping and whatnot, forced to do these, you know, several days long free. The hell out of here. I'm sorry. I'm out of character once again. Yeah, I couldn't do it. Diddy saw Cassie with her pregnant belly. I'm gonna show you a picture right now. Okay. I mean, she was glowing. Hold on one second. And I don't think Diddy has seen Cassie since their breakup. Okay. But to see her looking so strong, not looking like a victim, so beautiful, so happy, walking in with her fine husband. Okay. Here she is in the courtroom. Okay. Giving her testimony. Look at her face. You know, that's that look like, I ain't scared of you, effer. Okay. I ain't scared of you anymore. Here's her husband. All right. Diddy tried to get her husband thrown out of court. Okay. He tried to get her husband thrown out of the courtroom. And the argument was, and it was his defense attorney, Tenny, the one who started with opening statements. Okay. Of course, they would start with her. Anyway, argument was that Diddy threatened his life once upon a time. Yeah, they had text messages back from 2018 where her husband cussed Diddy's behind out. Like, if I catch you in the street, all right, don't let me catch you in the street. You know, that type of angry rhetoric. And trying to claim that, well, you know, Diddy is afraid for his life because this man threatened his life. Are you serious? And Diddy is over there, got such a face on him, like he just knows he's about to get, you know. No, he doesn't want her husband in the courtroom because, number one, he's jealous. You want to talk about some jealousy? That's her support system. So I guess he figured that if her husband is not there, she won't feel as supported, or she might feel more intimidated. But it didn't work. Then she backtracks, talking about, because the judge was like, well, you're talking about something that happened in 2018, and what I think was the prosecution was saying, well, wait a minute, we're talking about crimes that happened in 2016. So then they say, well, okay, we'll allow him to stay for now, but when we start talking about what happened in 2018, he has to go. Who is you? That's what I want to say. I'm like, really? Okay. Look at this woman. Okay. Strong, beautiful. Okay. Stark contrast. Okay. Just a beautiful young woman who just wanted a music career. He says, or she says, in November of 2018, Kim Porter tragically passes away from pneumonia. Knowing that Diddy would be distraught and wanting to be there for him, Cassie did everything she could to be there. She came to memorial services at his home. She flew to Kim's home state of Georgia to be at the funeral. Don't lose sight of the fact that amidst a breakup, all the way to the end of 2018, she flew to a funeral service to be there for him and support him and his family. Wow, that's what they're going with? Not that she was there to pay her respects to Kim Porter. Because I'm sure they trauma bonded. And at the service at their home, Combs, to a group of loved ones, former employees, and others, and to many people on social media who were paying their respects. And I quote, Kim was my soulmate. In Cassie's presence for everybody to hear, he said she was my soulmate. The end of the relationship between Cassie and Diddy is important, and I want you to focus on the evidence of how and why it ended. When Diddy publicly said Kim Porter was his soulmate to all the people around him who were there, for the first time, maybe ever, Cassie realized all the things she would not be. Ooh, that's below the belt. I expect many witnesses at this trial to tell you she wanted to be Combs' wife. I expect even she may tell you that that is what she spent 11 years trying to get. And in one day, it became clear to Cassie she was never going to be that. Wow. All right. This criminal case started because of Cassie, not because she went to law enforcement with her allegations, but because she filed a public lawsuit against Combs in November of 2023. At this time, when she was having financial trouble and living in her parents' modest home in Connecticut with her family, rather than go to law enforcement about what allegedly happened to her, she went to a civil lawyer who is here today. I expect that this trial, from nearly every witness that you will hear from, they will tell you that instead of going to law enforcement after either their employment ended for the alleged victims, they went to a civil lawyer for a money grab. They will claim that they were so afraid of this man that they could, of course, not go to the police because he was so powerful. But they were not so afraid that they could go to civil lawyers to make money demands against him, demands for unbelievably amounts of money, more than any of us has ever made. Cassie, for example, will tell you that she made a demand on Combs for $30 million. Another witness will tell you that in a breach of contract case, she made a demand for $22 million. Do you really believe that these people who demanded an unimaginable amount of money from Mr. Combs would have traded all that to not have been abused? Because I submit that you will consider, why did they never go to law enforcement? That's what they always say to victims. Why didn't you tell anybody? Well, if you've never been a victim, then you wouldn't understand. So as you are listening to the evidence, ask yourself, who is Combs actually conspiring with to violate the Racketeering Influence Corruption Organizations Act? There will be no one. Well, what about KK? Finally, the last of the charges I will talk to you about are the 2 counts that charge him with causing interstate travel for the purposes of prostitution. For him to be guilty, I expect the judge will tell you that he had to intentionally engage in what he knows to be prostitution. Come on now. What the evidence is going to be is that he was paying different men for their time and an experience. I bet a lot of women said that. Yeah, you're not paying me for actual, activities. You're just paying for a girlfriend experience, paying for their time. Anyway, think about the pornography industry. Okay. Think about the pornography industry, for example. Actors in pornographic movies are paid for their time, and generally they have X. Otherwise, it wouldn't be pornography. You will also hear about many companies. I expect you will hear from one later today called Hunkomania, a company called Cowboys for Angels that advertise online across the country where you can pay money for time and experience. That's prostitution, baby. That's not legal, not in New York. These escort companies are common and they do not advertise themselves as money for X. Well, of course not. Jesus. You go back to the jury room and evaluate the evidence in light of the crimes that are actually charged here. You will return the only verdict that the evidence demands, that he is not guilty of these crimes. That was the opening statement. I'm not gonna read all the opening statement of the prosecution because it's a lot of difficult stuff here. I'll just pull out a few things. They talked about all his different names. Okay. They said you're going to hear about 20 years of his crimes, that he didn't do it alone. He had his inner circle. They talked about the one night when Diddy was on the hunt for his girlfriend, a woman named Cassie. For years, the defendant physically abused Cassie, also exploited her, forcing her to sleep with male escorts while he watched and recorded it. But that night, the defendant learned he had lost control of Cassie. He found out Cassie was seeing another man. Furious, he set out to find Cassie and that other man, but he couldn't do it by himself. So he took his pow pow and he took his bodyguard and one of his loyal lieutenants to wake up one of the defendant's employees in the middle of the night. The defendant yelled that he was going to unalive the man Cassie was with. He demanded that his employees take him to that man's home. The defendant forced the employee out of her apartment and into an SUV. They drove to the house. The defendant and his bodyguard broke in, but no one was there. The defendant didn't give up. He kept looking for Cassie. When he finally found her, he did what he had done countless times before. He beat her brutally, kicking her in the back and flinging her around like a rag doll. All that violence wasn't enough, though. The defendant had to make sure he had control over Cassie once again, so he threatened her. The defendant told Cassie that if she defied him again, he will publicly release the videos of her having relations with male escorts that he kept as blackmail, souvenirs of the most humiliating nights of her life. This was just one of the nights in the defendant's 2 decades of crime. And one night, he and his lieutenant kidnapped an employee, broke into a man's house, and the defendant beat and blackmailed his girlfriend. And as you will learn, this was just the tip of the iceberg. These are not the only crimes the defendant committed. That's not the only time he kidnapped someone, and Cassie is not the only woman he beat or exploited. So he talks about Diddy's career. They talked about the people that he had around him. He relied on an inner circle, including his bodyguards, his chiefs of staff, and other high-ranking employees who ran all aspects of his life. Together, the group worked to promote the defendant's power. They carefully cultivated and guarded his reputation, and they worked to get the defendant everything he wanted. He sometimes called himself the king, and he expected to be treated like one. He expected his inner circle to cater to his every desire, including his actual desires. For years, the defendant used his inner circle and his company resources to actually exploit multiple women, including women he forced and manipulated into having relations with male escorts, meaning men who the defendant paid to sleep with women while he watched. You will also hear the defendant used his employees to get and distribute drugs. They delivered those drugs wherever the defendant asked, including so he would give those same narcotics to women he was forcing to have to sleep with male escorts. He transported those women and those escorts across state lines and even out of the country for those acts. He used his inner circle and vast resources of his business empire to help arrange those trips. Let's be very clear on the next point. This case is not about a celebrity's private actual preferences. The case will show you the conduct at issue in this case is coercive and criminal. So they talked about he used lies, drugs, threats, violence, and force to coerce first Cassie and then later Jane to sleep with him in front of male escorts. The defendant insisted that the acts occur in a very specific, highly orchestrated way. These performances lasted multiple days and they involved multiple escorts. So he, allegedly was forcing these women to have a train run on them. The defendant called these encounters by different names over the first freak-offs, later Wild King nights or hotel nights. Week after week, the defendant directed freak-offs in hotels across the country and sometimes out of the country. At times, the defendant had escorts and the women travel from out of state, so the defendant's staff sometimes organized flights, hotels, and cars. The defendant's businesses paid for those expenses. He had demands for the freak-offs, like he had preferred lighting, extra linens, lubricant. His staff remained on call to refresh anything the defendant needed, like cash to pay escorts or narcotics for the women and the defendant. The hotel rooms were dark. The defendant instructed Cassie and Jane how to look, how to dress in lingerie, how to wear, not how to, but to wear platform high heels, have manicured white nails. Do you guys remember that Nesto also liked Sonya to have white nails? I'm trying to remember. That means something. If you guys remember in the chat, somebody told me something about the white nails. It's significant for something. But anyway, the defendant selected narcotics for Cassie and Jane to take, usually MDMA, known as Molly or ecstasy, and sometimes those drugs made Cassie and Jane sick, but they also made the women more uninhibited and aroused. Cassie and Jane were fed these narcotics throughout the freak off so that they could stay awake and perform for him for hours and days at a time. Once an escort arrived, the defendant dictated every step of the activity that followed. The S activity that followed the same pattern, and he expected the women to enjoy themselves or to appear to while they did it. The defendant pleasured himself throughout the freak offs and often video recorded part of them. Cassie was a 19-year-old model aspiring singer with a hit song when she met Diddy in 2006, and Diddy was 17 years older than her at that time. The defendant started abusing Cassie early on. Initially, Cassie fought back, but time and again, the defendant hit Cassie in the head, threw her to the ground, and kicked her, dragged her by her hair. In 2009, the defendant threw Cassie on the floor of an SUV and stomped repeatedly on her face. To hide her injuries, the defendant forced Cassie to stay in a hotel for the next week. He refused to let her leave, and he had a staff check on her to make sure she stayed put. The defendant also introduced Cassie to freak-offs early on. Soon, the defendant made it Cassie's job to find and book escorts for the freak-offs that were happening as often as once a week for days at a time, meaning that almost half of every week, Cassie was in a dark hotel room, high and awake for days, performing S acts that she did not want to do on male escorts. She'll tell you she felt like she was choking when the defendant made an escort urinate in her mouth, and how she overdosed at a freak off when she still had an open wound on her face from the defendant's most recent assault. He talks about the physical attacks as we saw in the video. I'm scrolling through. He beat her when she didn't answer the phone when he called. He beat her when she left the freak off without permission. He beat her when he thought she took too long in the bathroom. The defendant taught Cassie that defying him could and often end in violence. And when she tried to run away, he always found her, often with the help of his inner circle. He told her he could destroy her career by releasing the videos that he recorded of her performing acts on dozens and dozens of male escorts. Cassie's relationship with the defendant was complicated. You will hear during the trial that both Cassie and the defendant were unfaithful, jealous, and at times angry, but only one of them had power. Only one of them had control, and that was the defendant. And with that power and with that control, he made Cassie do his bidding in those dark hotel rooms. I can only imagine the jury trying to sit here and listen to all this. It's a lot. All right. So they talk about Jane Doe. They go into more specifics. Jane Doe's income, plummeted because of what she went through and so forth. I'm going to skip over a lot of this because some of it is repetitive, honestly. And the jury had to sit here and listen to all this. So now you can understand why his kids was like, no, we can't with this. You will see the agreement signed by the hotel security guard barring him from speaking about the $100,000 that the defendant paid him for that hotel security video. Okay. And the defense is basically saying that he only paid them to protect him and Cassie's reputation. Yeah, I'm not buying that at all. All right, y'all. Queen Lily said Diddy did not graduate from Howard University. He quit. I thought they gave him like an honorary degree. I thought they gave him an honorary degree or something like that. And it was honorary. So he didn't really do the work. All right. Let's get into what actually happened in the courtroom. Okay. Let me try to get this in order. Let's see. I'm gonna have to go to the top. All right, so the defense, again, I told you guys, fought hard to get that video to not be shown, but it was shown. So that was that. Cassie talked about what happened in her life at the time that she was assaulted in the hotel. And some of this is out of order, but it's okay. In March of 2016, a couple of days before she was scheduled to have her first big movie premiere. So she was having a movie premiere, and just a couple of days before, this is what she's going through. Diddy has sent a text message that she interpreted as him wanting a freak off. As damage control, she said she told him she would do it. If I pleased him with the freak off, she says, then my premiere would run smoothly. An escort named Jules was there, she said. The beating by Diddy during the freak off gave her a black eye. At this point, all I could think was getting out of there safely. I had my premiere and I didn't want to mess it up. And I believe that was, I don't know if I have that picture of where she has her hair covering her face. I think that's the one. All right. She says Diddy was often in the room or right beside her during the freak offs. This is what she testified. If he wasn't in the room, he would sometimes watch over FaceTime. So sometimes he was having her do these freak offs and he wasn't even in the room. With the first year of encounters, he began recording the freak offs. Cassie says that she often asked for them to be deleted or she deleted them herself. I never wanted anyone to ever see me like that. Diddy's level of control is the undercurrent of much of the testimony about the freak offs. Cassie talked about choking again after Diddy subjected her to a golden shower by this escort. She raised her hands to beg for it to stop. The escorts were paid less if they released at times other than directed. So if they didn't climax when Diddy wanted them to, they got paid less. Drugs were used as fuel. The prosecution is trying to make the point that Diddy was in charge of everything that happened, including humiliation. And that was a part of the control. She says she was an object being heavily objectified by men in that scenario. She gave very graphic and explicit testimony about all that happened in these freak offs. Okay. But her comments about how it all made her feel are the most powerful, right? Because it was about, not just what happened and what she did, but how it made her feel. She describes the typical escalation of a freak off according to Diddy's fantasy. He was controlling the whole situation. He was directing it. She testified in detail again about these encounters and what she was directed to do actually. Okay, so Diddy basically told her what he wanted to do according to his fantasies. She says she gave a list of the drugs that Diddy provided to those who participated in the freak offs, and it included ecstasy, booger sugar, marijuana, ketamine, and mushrooms. Whatever was the drug of choice at that point, she says she took drugs for disassociating to have some kind of buffer for what she was experiencing. Cassie ran through a list of many escorts who she says participated in the freak offs. The men used names like Dave's, Jules, and the Punisher. Later on, so she basically Diddy wanted her to hire escorts for the freak offs, and she found them through Craigslist or Backpage. Later on, she found a service called Cowboys for Angels, which has a website that offers male escorts. And the defense noted that this service was far from underground. It was featured in the Showtime reality series Gigolos. Cassie testified that she would tell the escorts that it was her husband's fantasy to watch her having relations with another man. The prosecutor, Emily Johnson, asked Ventura for a detailed description of what the hotel looked like after the freak offs. She said there will be baby oil all over the walls and the door handles. There would sometimes be blood on the linens. because she was expected to have freak offs even while she was menstruating. There could be urine on the sheets because Diddy would sometimes direct the escorts to give her a golden shower. She did not want that to happen, she said, but there were no conversations about her preferences. It was a turn on for him, so it happened. This is what she said. Johnson asked, "Why didn't you just say no when that happened?" Cassie responds, "I thought it was obvious that I didn't want to do it." She testified that the freak-offs made her feel disgusting and humiliated, and that Diddy was not receptive to her concerns at all. She says that she and Diddy would get into a blown up pool. Oh, she said that one time her and Diddy got into like a blow up pool filled with baby oil inside the hotel room. You got to be kidding me. What? She says she was wearing her clothes and shoes and didn't want to, but at that point she couldn't say no because she was worried about his temper. Something that Sean wanted to happen, that's what was going to happen. You know what, Diddy, somebody need to slap the mess out you. Your mama got to be so disappointed. Or maybe she's not disappointed. Maybe, she's proud of this because his mom is just crazy. Yeah, Howard gave Diddy an honorary degree and then rescinded it and disbanded a scholarship program in his name. And rightfully so. Good. Oh my God. Like, Diddy, really? All of this? Really? A blow-up pool in the hotel room filled with baby oil. Baby. Shh. She testified that Diddy asked that the baby oil be heated and that he wanted her glistening with it, requiring that she apply it in frequent intervals. The encounters were very choreographed experiences. She listed the places where she and Diddy had the freak-offs in hotels: New York City, Miami, Los Angeles, Atlanta, Las Vegas, and Ibiza, and Turks and Caicos. She says sometimes they booked hotel rooms, as did Tom Fletcher, who was another Bad Boy employee. They would book under pseudonyms like Frank Black or Frank White. The jury saw emails between Cassie and Diddy from 2010. Her contact name for him was Pop. What? She saved his name on her phone as Pop. She testified that he made her use that nickname for him because it was what she called her grandfather. I thought it was weird, she said on the stand. Diddy is a weirdo, a freak. In the email exchange, Cassie makes a invitation to Combs, and Diddy responds by asking, "Want to call someone?" referring to an escort. She replied that she just wanted to be with him, and she wrote that she wanted to talk to him about something. Now you don't want to do so. Diddy replies, "Now you don't want to do anymore. I already know. You're so predictable." Because she was telling him that she didn't want to do a freak off. She just wanted it to be them two. That in and of itself implies that these freak offs were not consensual. This is not something Cassie wanted to do. She was coerced into do it and damn near forced. She testifies that she interpreted his message as dismissing her expressions of discomfort with the arrangement. The freak offs made her feel horrible and worthless. And when she expressed her concerns multiple times, Diddy was dismissive. Cassie testified that the freak-offs could last 2 to 3 days with no sleep. No sleep, despite her desire to get rest. The drugs helped keep her awake, she says, choking back tears. She testified that the encounters, again, made her feel disgusting and humiliated. She says Diddy was a different person during those events. When she displeased him, his eyes would go black. The version of him I was in love with was no longer there. For the first freak-off, Diddy arranged for a dancer from Las Vegas to sleep with Cassie. They took ecstasy and drank alcohol. And then she added that she felt dirty and confused after, but she felt she couldn't say no to continuing the encounters. I didn't want to make him upset, she says. I didn't want to make him angry and regret telling me about this experience that was so personal. After the freak off started, Cassie said that they were almost weekly. Almost weekly. Can you imagine? You with somebody, you love them, and their only interest in you is watching you sleep with other men. She says they immediately started getting ready to go meet Diddy, which made her scream and cry in fear. They all left in an SUV, and she was handed a pow pow to put in her purse. She says that was not the only time she was asked to handle a pow pow for Diddy, which terrified her. She said that when she and Diddy were having the freak offs at one of the homes of in Los Angeles, of one of his security guards, D Rock, um, which alerted Combs that Suge Knight was at a diner in the city. So that's what she's saying. So they're in Los Angeles at D Rock's house. He's one of the security guards. And Diddy finds out that Suge Knight, who's a longtime music industry rival, was at a diner in the city. And Diddy makes her put a weapon in her purse. Mm-mm-mm. She says that she said I had to look a certain way during the freak offs. He preferred her nails to be painted white and had discussions about her breast implants and said at least once that her hair made her look too Mexican. Wow. The prosecutor questioning Ventura, Emily Johnson, that's one of the lawyers on the prosecution, uh, picked back up with a discussion of her music career, which Cassie said was stifled amid her relationship with Diddy. She testifies that her manager, James Cruz, told her that he was managing her with one hand tied behind his back. She says he meant that decisions about her career also had to go through Diddy, the head of the label, and also her boyfriend. So they took a break. The other thing that Diddy did in court, which I think was really inappropriate, is after the male escort, the S worker, came off the stand. Now, this is a big dude, okay? The pictures, the renderings of him are horrible. But after he comes off the stand, Diddy raises up on him as he's walking past, I guess back to his seat, past the table that Diddy's sitting at. Diddy rate like like Nuck if you buck. He raises up. Why are you raising up on a witness in the courtroom for everybody to see? That's like a nonverbal challenge. So, Diddy really ain't scared. He's really not scared of too much. This is tough. I see where what the defense is trying to do. I get it. They're trying to, I mean, they tried. They were really laying it on thick, but I don't think that's gonna work because the jury has to hear all this other stuff. And then it makes you say, this is not just about jealousy. Cassie said that partying with Diddy and the freak offs took a big chunk of her life. She recalls staying up for days on end, drinking, taking drugs, having to sleep with strangers. The freak offs range from roughly 36 hours to 4 days, though they could last longer with breaks. And she needed to recover. Then she would need to recover from everything from the narcotics, the dehydration, and the sleep deprivation. The freak offs became a job where there was no space to do anything else but recover and try to feel normal again. Over the course of her record deal with Bad Boy, Cassie recorded hundreds of songs. She said some were released officially, some were leaked on the internet, and some just didn't see the light of day. She is asked how many full albums were not released. Part of her 10-album deal, she says 9. So only one album was released and 9 weren't. And it was a 10-album deal. When she lived in Los Angeles, Cassie says she had her own apartments, but Diddy had keys and used them whenever he wanted. It was a stomach in knots moment when he visited, she says, because she never knew what mood he was going to be in, whether he would yell and bang on the door or come in smooth. Now, I don't know if you guys ever read the Kim Porter book that was her memoir. At first, it was called A Fake by her family. And as it turns out, that information did come directly from her, from something that was left on a flash drive. The family denied it initially because there were a lot of things said in there that Kim Porter was doing, and she was swinging both ways. And there's a lot of nasty things that the family didn't want anybody knowing. But anyway, but she also described that same feeling of not knowing which Diddy she was going to wake up to, the calm, sweet one, or the monster, the demon. She described a mercurial personality who would pay for her rent in Manhattan, but also frequently told her things like, fix your face, watch your mouth, you know, fix your face. That's when you, that it's kind of like, as parents, sometimes we use that with our kids, right? Like if our kids do something and we got to, pop them and now they cry, fix your face. It's another way of saying, I don't care what emotions you're feeling right now. You need to suck it up and pretend like everything is fine, right? Wipe them tears off your face. Fix your face. Look happy, right? Another form of manipulation. Infidelity and jealousy were also part of a relationship. Cassie says, I was insanely jealous. But she says she moved to Los Angeles because she was in love with him and wanted to be near him. So she does say that. Security protected him and kept an eye on me. He would object. So Diddy's moods were extreme. He would object if she was being a quote unquote brat, make the wrong face. And the next thing I knew, I was getting hit in the face. At times, she described excitement, attraction, and their relationship like a whirlwind. Their romance began on the Miami trip. He gave her the Blue Dolphin ecstasy pill. But when she didn't answer his phone calls, she says he could call her incessantly or have his assistants and security personnel track her down. Now, I'm sure in the beginning that was probably cute, probably even a little bit sexy. But after a while, that gets tired. You don't answer the phone, so now you got, I didn't answer the phone, so now your security dude is knocking at my door, or is yanking me out the line in the grocery store. He had assistants at his beck and call. He can get anything done quickly. He had respect from everyone and traveled quite a lot. So yeah, Diddy saw that Cassie was pregnant, and he wasn't liking that. He wasn't happy about that at all. Not at all. The defense asked that Cassie's husband, Alex Fine, be barred from watching her testimony. Diddy's lawyer said they may need to call Fine as a witness later. The prosecution pushed back, saying Ventura needs her support system while on the stand. They met in the middle. Now, here's the thing. Tenny over here, Garagos, is like, well, she has enough of a support system. She doesn't need her husband. Excuse you? Who are you to tell this woman who she needs for support? Like, girl, what's wrong with you? But again, that's what they're supposed to do. So all of this happened after Daniel Phillip finished his testimony, just to let y'all know. So here's some of what they asked him. And it was Maureen Comey that questioned him from the prosecution. Through all of your activity with Cassie, who was in the room? Diddy, myself, and Cassie. And is Diddy the same man who threw the liquor bottle across the room when Cassie asked him to wait a minute? He says yes. Again, he identified himself, so we know his name. He said he was paid to sleep with Cassie in front of Diddy. Right. The defense tried to elicit testimony from him showing that Cassie was a willing participant in these encounters. That's what they were trying to do. After he finished on the stand, again, we heard from Cassie. All right, so here's some of the Let me see if I can try to get this a little bit in order here. All right. Probably can't, but it's okay. All right. So some of this I mentioned already. He described the relation. Okay, so this guy testified that he had never been paid for relations before their first night together, but he said he didn't care if he got paid one way or another. He says that he wanted their relationship to be deeper than just those voyeuristic nights. And he also said that had Cassie given him a chance to date her, he absolutely would have. So apparently Daniel Phillip had a thing for Cassie. And he did, whether he got paid or not, he was going to do it because he liked sleeping with Cassie. So it was mutually beneficial for him. He got paid, and even if he didn't get paid, he got to sleep with Cassie. Which is crazy because it was clear, at least according to her testimony, that she really didn't necessarily want to. He was questioned on how often he saw Cassie under the influence of narcotics. He testified yesterday, and that was only once. He testified yesterday, sorry. So he said yesterday, meaning on Monday, that it was only one time that he saw her under the influence. And at that time, Diddy canceled their planned encounter. Now, Xavier Donaldson, this is the black male lawyer from Diddy's team, was trying to say that drugs were not a significant part of their relationship. Now, this is an issue because it speaks to whether or not there was coercion in the relationship between Diddy and and Cassie. So, if she was under the influence a lot, then you could say coercion. But if she wasn't, or not even, well, yeah, you could say it's coercion because she would not have been in control of her actions. But I guess they're saying if she wasn't under the influence, then could that really be coercion? And in my opinion, it still could, right? She could have done it out of fear, not to make him angry, or if she knew that the result was going to be being beaten up. All right, so he let's see, what else did he question? He also testified, he testified that Diddy threw a liquor bottle which missed Cassie, but then he dragged her by her hair into a bedroom. So the defense honed in on this, right? This is why. Because after the abuse, he says that Diddy claimed to say, all y'all, is everybody ready to continue? So the lawyer, Xavier Donaldson, tried to suggest that Daniel Phillip told law enforcement something else when he was interviewed in late 2023, saying that Diddy told him to leave the hotel after the dispute. So it's like, well, did you tell the police back then that Diddy told you to leave after the dispute? Why are you saying now that he asked you if y'all ready to continue? And this is important because prosecutors are trying to prove that Diddy forced or coerced Cassie into doing these things. So if Diddy pushed Cassie to continue with these acts after he beat her, well, then that's definitely going to look bad on Diddy's part. He says, was Ventura or was Cassie the one who paid you? He says, yes, this is the escort. She wasn't drunk or high? He says she was not. Is it fair to say she was in complete control of everything she did? That's when he says, I can't say that. They tried. He was grilled hard, this escort. They really, really tried to catch him slipping, but he didn't slip. And that was pretty much it. Prosecutors. Oh, here's something interesting. So the judge had to address a request by more than a dozen media outlets, including the New York Times, to allow public attendees at the trial to see the video evidence of the freak-offs, of the encounters, the actual encounters at the freak-offs. Now, the prosecutors say that they want to seal those pieces of evidence because they involve actual conduct, including the nudity of women involved in the case. The judge seemed inclined to grant the motion, saying there's a heightened First Amendment concern, because that's what the media is going to say, right? But he didn't make a ruling. So I don't know what y'all think about that. the fact that the media is like, no, we want to see everything. Is it just that they're nosy or are they nasty? I'm just saying, because what's the purpose? Is it because they want to see who's on, who's participating in the freak offs? I don't know. All right, so here's the last thing. They said the crowd was a lot smaller today, but again, outside the courthouse, there's still a lot of people gathered outside of the courthouse who are literally camping out at night just so that they can get a seat the next day. And at the end, there were already like 10 people in line preparing for tomorrow morning. So there is, let me see if there's any more testimony by this guy. Let's see. He said that this guy, Daniel Phillip, the escort, said he repeatedly met the couple at high-end New York hotels to sleep with Cassie while Diddy watched. He also had episodes of domestic abuse with Diddy, is what he's saying. He witnessed, sorry. He said he also witnessed. So he's a witness to some of what we saw in the video. So he was asked, is it fair to say that she was in complete control of everything? And he said, no, I can't say that. He did admit that if he had the chance to date her, that he would. He said that, and he's 41. He's 41 years old now. He said he first met the couple around 2012, 2013. He was managing a male stripper show, and his boss asked him to take a shift as a dancer for a bachelorette party at Gramercy Park Hotel in Manhattan. When he arrived, there was no bachelorette party. It was Cassie who answered the door wearing a red wig and sunglasses. She basically said it was her birthday and that her husband wanted to do something special for her. So she asked me if I would mind rubbing baby oil on her and giving her a massage. This is what the escort is saying. He then says that he ended up sleeping with Cassie while Diddy watched, wearing a black bandana over his face and a black baseball cap. That arrangement was repeated several more times. The meetings involved Diddy directing them about how to have relations, and a couple of times he recorded on a cell phone or camcorder. The encounters could last as long as 10 hours. And Mr. Phillip testified that he often spent much of the time alone waiting for them. There were 2 instances in which he recalled witnessing or hearing Diddy abusing Cassie. The first time Diddy called out from another room for her to come to him, but she did not go immediately. Then the guy says that Diddy emerged and a liquor bottle flew past Cassie and hit the wall. He grabbed her by her hair and started dragging her into the bedroom. And she was yelling, "I'm sorry." And he said, "BITCH, when I tell you to come here, you come now, not later." Cassie was visibly upset, did not look like she wanted to continue doing anything, but Mr. Combs asked, "Are y'all ready to continue now?" The second time he was present for violence, the trio was in a hotel suite in Manhattan. The escort said he heard Cassie yelling, "I'm sorry," from another room. He said it sounded like she was being slapped. Cassie came running into the living room. She literally jumped into my lap and she was shaking, terrified, literally like her whole body was shaking. Asked by the prosecution why he did not go to the police, he said that he felt threatened after Diddy had taken a picture of his driver's license. Yeah, you know what that means. And that was pretty much it with his testimony. So I don't know if we're going to hear from him anymore, but I believe we're going to continue to hear from Cassie. So yeah, that's basically what you missed. That is an update on all the goings-ons. All right, there's Cassie being sworn in. This is a rendering of the male escort, Daniel Phillip. Okay. I don't know why there's a rendering of Diddy looking like he's sleeping. Okay. Here again is their spokesperson. So this is like their PIO, their public information officer for Diddy's team. This is Cassie's husband. Here's another rendering of Diddy, and here's some pictures again of the family as they were coming into the court. And this is just 2 days, y'all. This is just 2 days. Okay, this is Maureen Comey. 2 days. We are 2 days in. And all this in 2 days. It's a lot. It's a whole lot. So we are just about at 2 hours. You guys know that I am trying to limit the lives so that we are not actually this. I thought I was going to do this in an hour. No way. There was no way I was doing all this in an hour. Shout out to Dina Johnson. I got Ebony Woods, Silver and Gold. Thank you for being on. Jackie, I see you. Of course, Queen Lily was in the building. My mods, Queen Lily, Kia Elder, Pecan Tan is up in the building. My Ty, I see you. And the rest of y'all that's in the bushes. Thank y'all for being on. As I said, this was a comprehensive update of what's going on with Diddy. I am doing shorter updates on Bad Girls Talk, so make sure you are also subscribed over there as well. All right, to that channel. I've got some short videos and some shorter updates, but we had to talk about this foolishness. And I'm going to be honest with you, if this is an indication of how the rest of this 8-week trial is going to be, I think those jurors are going to need therapy by the time this is done. I really can't see how hearing Cassie's testimony, okay, forget about what the defense is saying she feels. You know, you can't tell Cassie what Cassie feels, right? You can give your opinion, but Cassie's telling you what she felt. She's telling you what she went through. I don't think that the defense is going to be able to convince a jury that there was not something going on, especially when they get into the other testimony. Now, where they may have somewhat of a struggle is the fact that this is not about domestic violence, right? That's not the crime that he's been accused of, but he has been accused of coercion, and I don't think it's going to be that difficult to for them to prove that these victims were coerced. So even if it's just those 2 counts, plus with him taking the escorts and the S workers and everything across state lines and out of the country, you cannot tell me that he didn't willingly know he was engaging in prostitution. That's a load of crap. So my prediction as it stands right now is that he's going to be there's going to be a guilty verdict on some of the charges, but not all of them. I'm thinking maybe 2 to 3 out of the 5 is going to be guilty, and maybe the other 2 not guilty. That's my prediction right now, half and half. Either way you slice it, I still see that Diddy is going to probably get around 20 to 25 years to life. That's my prediction. Tell me your thoughts. Let's keep the conversation going down in the comments. Oh, okay. Silver and Gold says she's 9 months. That's why she's so big. Okay, she's 9 months now, and that her due date is Thursday. Well, we are wishing Cassie a healthy delivery of her baby, and she's very strong for doing this. I understand why she wanted to hurry up and get this done, because she was like, I'm not popping out no babies until I can get on the stand and tell my story and my truth. So we're going to continue to follow, keep the conversation going. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think about this. Do you think the defense has a strong argument? Do you think that the prosecution has a stronger argument? And we will continue to follow this story. If you didn't hit the like button on the way in, make sure you hit the like button on the way out. You know how this goes. Be safe, be at peace, and stay nosy in these YouTube streets. Thank y'all so much for being on, and I'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.